differently. Somebody may count everybody who comes to the doors and up. The next general manager will say everybody who comes in the doors and up except B-backs. Every sales opportunity is an up. So you can take the exact same traffic pattern, put 3 different managers in the store and come up with 3 different numbers. And a web analytic package is really no different. So if you try to compare a server log analyzation package to a Java hit tracking package, and it's not important that you know the difference between those, but they will produce 2 entirely different sets of numbers. So the great thing about it is that as Google Analytics gains momentum, there's a consistency out there. We use it on all of our sites, even if clients don't want us to, just so we can make sure we have an understanding and we could say, this person's traffic is up, this person's traffic is down, and we know that set of numbers is measuring the same thing. The final thing, which is the absolute most important, it allows you to modify Google Analytics through some standard programming that you can go and find anywhere, that's standard technology on the web, and through some built-in commands. Most of you guys probably don't know this, but your site is, lots of sites are kind of a menagerie of 2 or 3 different URLs and 2 or 3 different sets of pages. Well, Google Analytics can be programmed to handle that. And you've also got things that happen on your site which are, most web packages aren't going to track, like if somebody plays a movie. Your web packages don't track that. How far through the movie do they get? That's something you can use Google Analytics to program. So if you don't have Google Analytics, you need to implement it. And if you do have it, you need to improve it. There's a company called ROI Revolution that all they do is Google Analytic installs. And they estimate that 90% of Google Analytics installs are flawed. How many of you guys have Google Analytics out here? Would you believe that, do you think yours was flawed in some way? Okay, well there you go. It's that 90% of these are flawed. And some of the flaws are super simple. Do you know if you exclude traffic from your dealership? Well, it's pretty simple. They've got a filtering device that you can take your IP range and take your IP range and take it out. So that's the difficulty, is that most dealerships you walk in, and these are simple problems. Simple problem like how do I get the traffic from my dealership out of my Google Analytics is that you walk in, every workstation in your store is open to your site. It probably accounts for 25 or 30% of your traffic. Then what's your conversion rate look like? Terrible. Sorry, I answered for you. What was your conversion rate like? All right, you're right, I'm terrible. So it's important that if you want to have information, and if you're going to make the effort, you might as well get good information out of it. You need to create conversion goals, which isn't as simple as it sounds. Because if you go to a lot of web providers, they use some really awesome technology to generate interesting lead forms. But then the lead forms don't generate lead conversions like we expect them to. They don't go to separate pages, and they don't go through a particular funnel. You need to have content goals. Like I said, if you have used car advertising, isn't it important that people search used cars from that advertising? That'd be a content goal. So measure whether someone comes in on from a particular effort and gets to a particular place in your site. And Google can measure that. And finally, engagement goals, which we'll talk about later, which is really, I think, one of the most important things you can do with Google Analytics or anything else, is measure engagement and measure that beyond somebody sending a lead, beyond somebody coming in and contacting you and giving you their information, is do they have a quality experience in their site? Do they dig through it? Do they find what they're looking for? And finally, the great thing about Google Analytics is it exports its data to other applications. So if you're buying paid search, you can export Google Analytics data back into AdWords, back into Yahoo, so that you can buy your paid search based on the performance, and not just conversion performance, engagement performance too. So you can buy traffic, not whether they convert to a lead, but based on whether they will look at 3 or more pages, or whether they stay on the site 4 or more minutes, which is important information. So that brings us really to our next thing, is focus on engagement. And you'll hear this buzzword everywhere, engagement, engagement, engagement. But what it really means is to focus on someone coming to your site and have a quality experience. Okay? How many people in this room have the title e-commerce director? Okay, realistically, you guys don't do any e-commerce. Nobody goes to your site and buys. It's not like Amazon, where someone comes to your site and buys a book and ships it in the sense that we do not, as car dealers, do commerce over the internet. It's just really a fact, and maybe we might in the future. It's not happening next year. So the interesting part about this is, why does someone come to your site? It's the first step in a process of doing business with your dealership. Now don't get me wrong here. I'm not saying conversion, you don't want people to convert. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm going to say that if you're going to look at a statistic and pick an order of those statistics to look at them in, engagement should come before conversion. 70% of the people using the internet as a part of the purchase process will never submit an email lead. So if you focus on email conversions, and I know that phone tracking is another element of this, and varying providers and varying packages offer differing levels of tracking phone calls as part of this package. But as an industry, most of them focus on email conversions, and so this statistic is specifically email conversions. But 70% of the people who go through this use the internet as part of this process are never going to send you a lead. And if I were to tell you that, hey, let's take your sales manager and let's train him to focus on 30% of the people that come through your door, you'd tell me you have no idea what I'm doing. And said, let's focus on the 70%. 54% of advertising-driven walk-in traffic cites the internet as their primary source. So it's crystal clear from these statistics that whether you discount them by 20 or 30% or just believe them as they are, that the internet plays an important role in walk-in traffic. And that can't be denied in the process. And if you think that you're going to advertise, generate leads, and it's all about lead conversion, it is, and that really makes the process easier, but that's how people use the internet. People come in, we still talk about it. People like car of emotion. They want the new car. It's a great car. It smells different. The salesman was nice. You know what I mean? You walk in, what happens if the salesman's a jerk? They don't sell them a car. It doesn't matter how good your website was or how good you did here. So this is an online, offline purchase process, and understanding that and accepting it and believing it wholeheartedly is going to be the difference between you doing well on the internet and perhaps doing really, really well, and understanding what the role the internet plays in it. Now, this isn't something that is fixed in time. As a matter of fact, if you look at it, in the past 5 years, people using the internet in the purchase process has gone up 11 points. People submitting a lead in the internet purchase process has only gone up 2 points. It would seem as though the number of people submitting leads is staying fairly the same, but the number of people using the internet is increasing. If you remember back 6, 7, 8 years ago, the internet shopper was a really savvy shopper who dug through all this information, and you had a separate department to deal with them and sell them the card invoice and pay your salesman $50 on it. That's not the case. Everybody today uses the internet. Everybody today looks at what you have, looks at your address, looks at your inventory before they come into your dealership. So the trend is going this way, and that's what's important. That's what's important to look at, is that we focus on this engagement. That yellow bar or orange bar, I'm colorblind, I can't tell you, is it yellow or orange? It's yellow, okay. I meant it to be orange. My company's colors are yellow, blue and orange, so.